Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Yo to Bolt fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, the bye week has come and gone. And it was fun, man, getting to watch football from dawn until dusk until 1 in the morning. Kind of crazy how that game went down last night, but it's down back to business, right? I'm so ready for some Chargers football. Was really missing it this last week, and it's time to get back down to brass tacks. Where are the Chargers now that the bye week has come and gone? How are we feeling, Chargers fans? We started on a very high. It ended up coming down a little bit, a couple of notches when it came to the last couple of games. Chargers, Chiefs, of course, we expected that one to be tough. The Steelers game was certainly a tough one as well. Now it's time to start to reevaluate where we are, what I think the Chargers need to do moving forward, and how this team, in my opinion, is primed for a breakout coming out of the bye week. This is a pretty significant bye week for the Chargers in the Jim Harbaugh kickoff era, man. This could not have come at a better time. A lot of us were belly aching about how early bye weeks suck and we wanted to get one in the middle of the season. Well, this one may have just very well saved the Chargers' early season, and it sets us up for a lot of success going into the rest of the year, hopefully, with the Chargers having had time to sort some things out and right the ship a little bit. So let's get going on that, man. Before we do, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Use code DIRECTOR to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Newcomers take advantage of the Brock Purdy special live right now. It's a great way to support my platform and have some fun along the way. I had a lot of fun in the bye week. I'll tell you, man, I must have had 20 slips this last weekend. It was a lot of fun. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. The small amount of time you guys take to like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
The Los Angeles Chargers reloaded. What do I expect of the Chargers post-bye week? We're going to call it what? The Chargers post-bye week breakout, because I do think that this is going to help position the Chargers into some pretty cool maneuvers past this point. What do you guys think? Real quick before we go into the video. What do you think? Custom jersey, nice and sleek. Nice. Check this out. A little black and gold Director action. I know. Happy Halloween, everybody. Should be a fun one. I'm pretty happy with it. You might see me sporting this to whatever game we decide to go to in person out there, man. It's a good time. So let's go ahead and start off with my first talking point past the bye week, which is going to be Justin Herbert. I think if you were to evaluate the Chargers' first 4 games of the season and say, hey, we got something we got to sort, we got to get something right, it's probably the quarterback position at this point, which is pretty shocking. And I don't think it's because we have a bad quarterback situation at all. It's just we got to help Justin Herbert kind of get back on track here a little bit. And I do think there's a lot of revolving circumstances revolving around this situation. Mainly a change in OC, new system, new coach, new everything. Justin Herbert seems to be needing a little bit of time to acclimate a little bit to this new environment, which is definitely fair. However, the Justin Herbert we all know and love, the Justin Herbert Offensive Rookie of the Year, the Justin Herbert top 5 quarterback in the NFL, still exists in that number 10. I guarantee it. And there's got to be a way to help unearth that once again. And I think one of the most important ways the Chargers could have used this bye week was evaluating what Justin Herbert looked like in those 2 losses and figuring out a way to get him back to his normal self. What aren't we doing to support Justin Herbert? Because it feels like the entire idea of this offense, of the offensive line, of the run game, of the defense even, is to support the quarterback position. And right now it feels like Justin Herbert regressed a little bit, which everyone's going to freak out at the word regress. It's not in a terms of like, oh, this is permanent, undoable damage. No, it's just Justin Herbert we need to flex around him a little bit better, right? We have to sort out the rest of the game around him a little bit better to help him settle in to this offense a little bit more smoothly. And yes, I think there's a big part of that due to injury as to what we're seeing right now with Justin Herbert. The time, in healing and rehab from the high ankle sprain that he suffered in week 3, that is definitely something that is going to be better and benefited now with the bye week. That's, got to remember, yes, he did play in week 4. He did a very good job. Chargers were actually pretty close to winning that one versus the Chiefs, but he did get the full week off. He didn't seem to re-aggravate it in that game. I think we got lucky, to be honest. And now with some time separated between him and the injury, I do think it's going to be something that he's able to put behind him. With the kind of injuries that he's looked at, though, I don't know if we're going to see 100% mobility out of him for the rest of the season, but it is going to be better than what we've seen before, because I do believe it did affect his game in some shape, way, or form these last couple of times that he's played. So we'll see, man. Justin Herbert, I can definitely see him bouncing back. I think there's a big part of it due to injury. I think there's a big part of it due to maybe his confidence and understanding, or at least comfort in the offense. But I do think the biggest reason why he's going to see a little bit of improvement is because of the way Jim Harbaugh likes to evaluate and take action, right? He's definitely the kind of guy that adjusts. You don't see Jim Harbaugh do what Chargers fans are used to, and that's pretty much the same thing. Chargers coaches in the past are going to continue doing the same thing over and over and over and hope for different results. Jim Harbaugh has already proven to us as a coach that he has the ability to adjust, that he is very good in that situation, and that it's something that you can really see translating to this bye week. This is pretty much us going into the tunnel. We're going to hear the rah-rah speech, but he's also going to come up with an idea, a plan, right? A plan of action that's going to help benefit everyone who's been struggling in the offense, defense, on the team, previous these last 4 games. So let's go ahead into our next talking point, and it's one that I think is very important. The Chargers are going to be getting some players back, and this is a big reason why I think the Chargers ultimately didn't win last week, man. It's kind of funny to think, because I thought, even going into that matchup fully healthy, right? We had every single Charger on the squad. It still would have been a steep climb to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, even in Los Angeles, right? So lo and behold, the Chargers go in missing like 5 of their best players. There's injuries all over the roster. We're getting flagged every 5 steps in that game. We still almost beat the Chiefs, losing by 1 score. That is something pretty impressive, and it proved to me that the Chiefs aren't invincible, but it also showed me, a microscope onto the roster a little bit as to important positions on this team. Jim Harbaugh, Joe Ortiz, everybody, part of the organization, they had an idea of what they wanted to be when building this roster. Jim Harbaugh has an idea, an identity that he carries with him from team to team that brings a lot of success. And I got to tell you what, man, the offensive line, to me, is starting to look like one of the most important positions to this team, maybe even a slightly above the quarterback, which is really kind of crazy to think about, but hear me out for a second. Joe Alt's return is going to be big, and yes, I do expect him to return. He's been practicing. It looks like he's going to be good to go. Huge news for the Chargers, and it's for the reason that I stated. Offensive line feels like really a focal point position for the Chargers and for a Jim Harbaugh team and for what their identity is going forward. This last week, without Joe Alt, without Rashawn Slater, with a really makeshift, patchy work, line, it really felt like everything sort of disintegrated. Not as badly as I expected it to, let's be honest. They actually held up a lot better than I had expected, considering the circumstances. But when you have a Pro Bowl caliber left tackle in Rashawn Slater on your line, that makes a huge difference. When you have, let's be honest, a top 5 right tackle on your offensive line, that makes a very big difference. Joe Alt might even be top 3 already, man, which is really insane. That makes a huge difference, and it allows you to play the game a lot more differently, with a lot more confidence in certain ways that you want to attack, right? The running game certainly takes a huge leap forward when you have Joe Alt on this team. The kind of space that he's able to create, I don't care, left side, right side, wherever he's playing, is impressive. And it's obvious when you watch, our running backs, right? And J.K. Dobbins, whoever's running on the outside, you're going to see a lot of space generated, an opportunity for those running backs to make some big plays. And Joe Alt has been, like Jim Harbaugh has expressed over the offseason, the tip of the spear of this offense. It's a very, very important position, and to have Joe Alt back is very, very significant. And I would argue, when you're evaluating the position, yes, I think the first thing on the top of your list on the bye week is, okay, we hope to get these guys back. And luckily, you're at least getting Joe Alt back at this point. But you also have to take a look at the depth, because I also believe that the Chargers, if they're going to put that much emphasis and that much weight on the offensive line position, we really have to sort out, number one, what's going on in the interior. I think we need a little bit more time. I think it was Duke Merriweather. Dan Wilkinson, I think, retweeted this morning. Duke Merriweather said that it takes like 6 to 10 games for a new line to gel, right? I think it's going to take a little bit longer as well. I've seen some good games, some good things out of Bradley Bozeman, but for the most part, he's been sort of underwhelming for me. Maybe that changes here in the next couple of weeks. We have to sort out the depth, like I was saying. The Chargers, I don't know where Zion Johnson was, or excuse me, Jordan McFadden was in this last game, but what's going on with the depth, right? I felt pretty good about the depth going into the offseason, or should I say into the regular season, and I'm not quite sure, where we're standing at this point. We had some random guy in Mustafar, I have the high ground, come in and play guard this last game, which didn't quite feel right. I'm hoping that the Chargers took a step back, evaluated the strengths and weaknesses of that offensive line, maybe make some moves, whatever, and just make sure going forward that the plan is very clear as to who the starters are, who the backups are, how to pivot and how to adjust when you don't have somebody in there or you do have somebody in there. Like, it just really feels like the weight that position carries for this team is so huge that I hope the time to evaluate everybody's on the line, their particular strengths and weaknesses, helps them be better prepared for the next time an injury may occur or a shift may need to happen, because it just didn't quite feel right in this last game. All right. Next up, the other guy on the opposite side, Rashawn Slater. Unfortunately, I haven't heard much about him. This video is being recorded before we have any news of the practice on Monday, so I'm actually not quite sure where he stands right now. It was a pectoral injury, I think, that he sustained in week 3 that he's trying to come back from. So keep in mind, he did not play last week, nor did Joe Alt, which means that they had that week, they had the bye week, and this upcoming week, so 3 weeks to bounce back from these injuries. It feels like that's a pretty ample amount of time for most non-serious injuries. That's getting close to IR kind of, you know what I mean, time off the field. But again, we don't know quite yet. To have Rashawn Slater back and Joe Alt back would be very huge. But again, like I stated, we just don't know. But to kind of reiterate what I was saying before, the offensive line is such a huge position. Who knows how they're going to roll out? If it's anything like it was in practice, when Rashawn Slater wasn't in, because I do believe even when I was attending, there was a small amount of time where he wasn't practicing. At that point, we saw Joe Alt shift to left tackle, and then I think Trey Pipkins shift to right tackle, and then I think at guard stepping in was Jamari Sawyer, if I do remember correctly. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, having one or both of these guys back is going to be a huge benefit to the team. We know Joe Alt is back. If we can get Rashawn Slater back as well, that's just an added benefit right there. All right. Next up, another familiar face back in the lineup. It's Derwin James. Dude, I don't know. The more I read into the whole situation of Derwin James and his suspension, the more it just sounded completely bogus to me. We ended up getting fined again. Dang it, dude. It was Denzel Perryman this time. The league is making an example of us to the rest of the NFL, which I do not appreciate, but it is what it is. Derwin James is back this week after suspension. I wonder what kind of impact he would have made in that Chiefs game, man. I honestly do, because if you remember, one of the biggest reasons why the Kansas City Chiefs came back in that game was because Travis Kelce stepped up. If we had Derwin James, I guarantee it's not as simple as that for Kansas City. Let's guarantee, dude. That's bogus. Anyway, Derwin James, he'll be back. He's going to, again, be a significant part of this post-bye week breakout, because, again, he's one of the stars of this defense, one of the leaders of this defense. You put Derwin James in there, the whole script changes, right? And bravo to Jesse Minter for holding the Kansas City Chiefs to 17 points, the lowest that they've scored in a long time, actually. Without Derwin James, without Joey Bosa, you put them back in the lineup, though. You reinsert the star of the defense. Derwin James is gonna make a big impact here. And when you're talking about the kind of talent the upcoming schedule's looking like, you got the Broncos, the Cardinals. Cardinals got Trey McBride, right? I think the Broncos have an up-and-coming tight end, too. I don't remember. But the Cardinals have Trey McBride, one of the top tight ends in the NFL. The Saints kind of had Taysom Hill. They got some good weapons out there, though. Some speed out there. You're going to want to see Derwin up top a lot. You got the Browns. They got Njoku. They got some decent weapons out there. The Titans will have to wait and see. Either way, Derwin James changes your odds against a lot of the star players you see on those particular teams. And just seeing him back is going to be a very big benefit of the squad. Again, his absence was kind of felt. I mean, at the same time, we didn't quite notice because the defense did play really good last week versus the Chiefs. But then you take a look at what it could have been with Derwin on there. I think we maybe could have won that game. Isn't that crazy? I don't know if a lot of people realize the impact of not having Derwin James in that game. I really do think the Chargers had a shot at it if Derwin James didn't have that bogus suspension. But he'll be back. Another maybe, similar to the situation with Rashawn Slater, is Joey Bosa. Again, we kind of don't know. I think he had a hip injury. Can't quite remember the details on it. But again, he didn't play last week, so that's 3 weeks, right? Again, you got that week to prepare. He didn't practice or play. He did not play in the week versus Kansas City. He had the bye week that he set out, and now there's the lead up to this game, so that's like 3 weeks, right? Unless it's like a pretty significant hip injury, I have to imagine he's close to coming back. But again, this is me speculating. With Rashawn Slater, with Joey Bosa, I haven't heard anything, so I can't tell you with any certainty that they're going to be coming back soon. It just feels like that's a really good amount of time to start thinking about a return. Again, I haven't seen Bosa back at practice. I haven't seen Slater back at practice, so we just don't know quite yet. But Joey Bosa being back, just like Derwin James, would be significant. Now, the benefit that we have with Joey Bosa is that the line has been performing still at an insane level, even with Joey Bosa sidelined. It's starting to feel like the Bud Dupree signing was an insurance policy on what may or may not happen to Joey Bosa in the season with his availability. And props to Joe Ortiz and those guys out there, man. It's paying off. Bud Dupree last week versus the Chiefs, I think he got 2 sacks, right? There's a lot of hype about him in different beat writers and Chargers fans. Like, honestly, he's looking awesome. Keeping that rotation nice and consistent and healthy, even without Joey Bosa on the field. So again, I'm hoping Joey Bosa comes back. It feels like it's been a good amount of time for him to make a bounce back. But if not, like, Khalil has been playing out of his mind. Thule's been playing amazing. And Bud Dupree surprisingly looks rejuvenated, right? You put him in the lineup a little more as, an edge 3 rather than edge 4. Like, he may see similar numbers to last season, right? I think he ended up logging like 8 sacks with the Falcons last year. Like, who knows, man? Who knows? So Joey Bosa, I hope to see him back. If not, the Chargers have a really good contingency plan, and their other 3 edge rushers who are also insane. Now here comes the interesting part. I promise we're actually going to talk more at depth as to what the Chargers need to do in terms of their offense, in particular their passing game, here in another segment. But one really big talking point that I've had to cover this last week has been the Chargers adding talent at wide receiver. Not going to lie, we do need something, right? I love Ladd McConkey. It's awesome seeing Quentin Johnston bounce back this year, but there's still a little something missing. And I think, a trade is a really good possibility. But we also have this other guy that's on the roster that may be seeing a return soon. I don't know. Again, I haven't heard anything. I went and looked for some news, some updates on DJ Chark. The official update is there's no update. I couldn't find anything. We don't quite know where DJ Chark is in his return. But he is part of this team, and they had a vision for him. And I think DJ Chark returning and stepping into that X-receiver role is going to help unlock a little potential in this offense. I really do. Seeing the kind of work that Ladd McConkey's been able to accomplish from the slot, and Quentin Johnston if I'm being quite honest. Both those guys working the inside, it's been impressive, right? We need to give those guys more opportunities to do that. And by inserting an X receiver to the talent and caliber of DJ Chark is something that could really help that out. I was really, really hoping that Josh Palmer would be the guy to step into that position and kind of fill that role and do a good job at it. Because I'll be honest, in the offseason, Palmer looked great. But in the season so far, I know he's not been back very long. It's been a little underwhelming. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's just shaking off some rust. Maybe he'll get better here in the next couple of weeks. But we also have this guy, DJ Chark, who may or may not be returning soon. That could shake things up in terms of the Chargers passing game just a little bit. So we'll keep that in mind again. Still looking for updates. Maybe we get some more today at the press conferences with the coaching staff and all that kind of stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. Daniel Popper, if you're listening, ask some questions about these guys. We need updates on Slater. We need updates on Chark. And we need updates on these next couple of guys, too. We got Dan Henley and Junior Colson, who could be making a return to him. I don't know what the injury was to Dan Henley. I remember him, I don't know if he ever returned in that game versus the Chiefs, but that was pretty big to me. I was like, dude, that sucks. Like, he's really having an awesome season. He's been killing it out there. Hopefully it wasn't anything too serious. He does return this week. Maybe he was at practice. I should have looked that up. This was kind of a last-second ad on the video, but that would be pretty huge, right? Junior Colson, another guy where it's just like, hey, man, you got yourself an awesome defensive weapon that could really, really break out in his rookie season even. I would like to see him back on the field. I don't think he played last game versus the Chiefs either. This is a lot of time, man. This bye week really came in at the perfect time, and seeing this kind of talent back with the Chargers could be pretty huge. Okay? Now, I think I mixed up the order here. To go back to the idea of the Chargers adding some help at wide receiver. Okay, this is something I just covered in my last video. If you want a more in-depth look at this whole idea of the Chargers trading, check out my last video, trade candidates. I don't remember what I called it, but we talked extensively about a lot of the rumors that we're hearing as to wide receivers being moved in the NFL, because it feels like it's going to happen sooner than later, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, the trade deadline's coming up in a month, right? So there's some time between now and then that they could actually go down, but it kind of feels like it's going to happen sooner rather than later for a lot of these guys, including Davante Adams, who I don't have a photo of right now. Davante Adams, I expect to be moved in like a week. Okay? The Chargers making a move for a wide receiver, to me, is actually pretty realistic. We don't quite know. I don't have, a good gauge on Joe Ortiz quite yet. We just kind of know that he's been more aggressive than Tom Telesco in the past. It follows the trends that the Baltimore Ravens have had the past couple of seasons. They're not afraid to trade, right before the season or even in the season. They're not afraid to use their draft capital even beyond the draft. They generate a lot of draft capital, which is why I assume that they're willing to make moves on players, especially for late round picks, which a lot of these guys would be, late round pick acquisitions. It's certainly a possibility. For me, some of my favorite moves have been Amari Cooper. He's been rumored to be talking to the Kansas City Chiefs. I really certainly hope that's not the case. Of course, there's been talk about Davante Adams. I think it's very unlikely that they trade to a division rival. And Davante Adams, I don't think, likes us because of the little Pop-Tart thing and all that rivalry stuff. DeAndre Hopkins has been rumored as well. These are all guys that would be very exciting. There's other honorable mentions like Deontay Johnson. What are the Panthers going to end up doing? Odell Beckham Jr. He just had his debut game last week with the Dolphins. That's a very, very sad sinking ship that we're seeing in Miami. Maybe he jumps ship and goes somewhere in his later season. Tyler Boyd is another guy that he was just recently, I think, added to the Titans. He could be a trade target for the Chargers. These are all guys that would definitely help out the offense. Me personally, my dream trade target is still going to be Mark Andrews. I don't know about you guys. It's been kind of crazy watching this man not get featured in the Ravens offense this season. I don't know what he looks like in ways of drops or route running or anything like that. I haven't quite dissected the Ravens and him in particular that much to evaluate that accurately, but I would say that when I saw him yesterday during the bye week, he was not involved in most of the game in favor of course, Isaiah Likely. There was even this other tight end that they were throwing to a little bit more too. But when Mark Andrews did get involved at the end of the game, he looked really good. I think he logged like in the fourth quarter, like 4 receptions or something like that. He looked awesome. My question is, why isn't he getting more work with the Ravens? Do the Ravens feel like they're ready to move forward with Isaiah Likely? I would hope. That would open the door for the Chargers to say, hey, man, I know you're out with the old and with the new. Let us throw you a 4th or 5th round pick for Mark Andrews. Take some of that money off your books and give Mark Andrews a change of scenery where he can be the number one and help out the Chargers, who, in my opinion, really, really need some involvement from the tight end position. Mark Andrews, Justin Herbert, we know the chemistry is there. They looked awesome in the Pro Bowl together. This is my dream trade. Is it likely? I don't think so, but it's one that I would be aggressive for if I were Joe Ortiz. Like, this is a game-changing trade. There may be some stuff we don't know going on behind the scenes. Maybe there is a regression, worry in Mark Andrews, but from what I saw yesterday, Mark Andrews still looks really good. He's just not getting the ball for some reason. I would go after this man, dude. I think he would be a huge help for Justin Herbert for the next 2 or 3 years while the Chargers either draft a guy or train up a guy, right? Develop a tight end in the next couple of years. I want Mark Andrews on this team. Speaking of the tight end position, that's something in the offseason I hope the Chargers took a look at and said, hey, dude, we're a running football team. We got to get the tight ends more involved. I have seen the tight ends involved in terms of blocking pretty consistently. Their success rate is one thing. I feel like Will Dissly has been pretty good in that situation. I can't quite say about Will Dissly, or I should say Hayden Hurst. He's been lining up at fullback a little bit, primarily a pass catcher for this team. He's looked okay, nothing crazy. I need to see the tight end position get more involved, because it feels like if you're a running football team without some decent to good tight ends, right, it's going to be pretty tough, because you're going to have to lean on these guys a lot because they're going to be on the field a lot. And right now, I don't know where my confidence level is at the tight end position. And maybe that does change with some time to evaluate and rethink your plan a little bit, okay? Now, with that being said, probably the biggest segment on this video, at least the most important, if you made it this far, the reevaluation of the offense, okay? We're going to call it the fall of Roman. Greg Roman, rightfully so, receiving a lot of criticism from Chargers fans these last 2 weeks as being the detriment of the Justin Herbert past couple of weeks, right? It's not looked good for Justin Herbert. The passing game has been pretty poor. It's been very strange for Chargers fans to see Justin Herbert throw for under 200 yards over and over and over again. And it's something that I think needed some serious attention, and why the Week 5 bye week is also a huge blessing in disguise. I think the time to step back and look at the last 4 weeks and say, hey, we have Justin Herbert. We have another tool to move the ball other than this aggressive identity shift of run heavy. We need to kind of figure out how to mix these two worlds a little bit, because right now it feels like without the offensive line, this pure kind of running football team just couldn't quite get the gears moving. And what's kind of crazy is that when they were throwing the football efficiently, Justin Herbert and Ladd McConkey looked insane last week. We just didn't have a lot in the bag in terms of creativity and play calling to really get that going. I really hope that over the bye week, that Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh have found a way to get a mix of DNA here, because the Chargers have been a high volume passing team for as long as I can remember. Okay. Of course, the LT days were different, but you know what I mean with Phillip Rivers and Justin Herbert. Now it's been a long time that the Chargers have just been this really, really aggressive passing team, and Justin Herbert in particular has seen a lot of success in that. Right? Jim Harbaugh has seen a lot of success as a run heavy offense in his time coaching everywhere he's been, and I do expect that to remain consistent. I do expect the run game to be a featured part of this offense going forward. But again, I hope a mix of DNA is brought forth after the bye week this season, because we need it, right? You have, like I was mentioning before, the offensive line that needs time, right? We're not always going to have are starting guys out there, which, again, when they're all healthy, the Chargers might have a top 10, top 5 offensive line in the league. They're very, very good at tackle, right? But when you don't have one or both of these guys, we need to have a way to move the football. And the Chargers have that way in Justin Herbert. It just feels like the reevaluation of the Greg Roman offense is super important here. How do we unleash Justin Herbert? How do we mix in the DNA of a Justin Herbert aggressive, passer, a very talented quarterback in the league? How do we get him more involved as a passer in this offense? How do we become more of what I was assuming would be a run balance offense at the top of this season than what we've shown in the past couple of weeks? We need to get Justin Herbert back to his normal self. And I think the way you do that is through the creativity in the passing game. Greg Roman, what we've seen on the ground has been impressive when the offensive line is playing up to par, right? Again, very important position for this team. But when you don't have that, or even if you do have that, you still have Justin Herbert, and we have to find a way to get him back to that rookie of the year form. We have this amazing talent, very expensive quarterback. Let's use him. And I hope that the time to reevaluate and to really look at the situation offensively and see the lack of success the last 2 weeks really opens the eyes of Jim Harbaugh and says, hey, Greg, we got to shift gears a little bit, man. Like this is year one of the offense. We wanted to go run heavy. We wanted to go ground and pound, but obviously there's some, details that we need to smooth out. We need a piece or two more in the offensive line. Maybe we need that featured running back. I have a lot of faith in J.K. Dobbins to do it this season, but there's a lot that could change in the next couple of years for the offense. Ashton Genty could be a Charger next season. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot that could change that could add to the identity that they want to create. But right now, the team, it feels like you're missing some pieces to really execute it. And we know we have the pieces to execute what Justin Herbert's been doing the last 3 seasons. Let's try mixing it in a little bit more. And maybe the offense can find its footing for 2024 while also creating on the back end what Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman want for the future. But right now, we desperately need a change of pace here. But ultimately, I'm going to say this, and this is something that I think all of us as fans need to hear. We also just need to trust the Harbaugh way. His process is going to be very peculiar, very particular. It's something that I've heard. Again, when we hired Jim Harbaugh, I got flooded by Michigan Wolverine beat writers and fans and people that have been part of that organization for years and years and years. They reached out to me, and I talked to them on Twitter and Instagram and just kind of got a gauge for who Jim Harbaugh is and what to expect from him as a coach for the Chargers. And a lot of it was, it's going to feel awkward at times. It's going to feel unsure at times. He likes to keep a lot of his strategies and thoughts and secrets close to the vest, but to trust the process, because there's a lot happening behind the scenes that you don't know about. The decisions that he's making, the moves he's making behind the scenes, there's a lot happening, and you just need to sort of trust that he knows what he's doing, because all the success that he's seen everywhere he's been, it takes a little bit of time, and it takes a lot of trust. Not just from the team, which the team has done a great job giving him that kind of control, but also the fans. Let's give him some time, trust the process. It's kind of the way I'm going about it. Okay? To close out this video, make way for the streak. Now, the reason I've labeled this video post bye-week breakout is because I think you're about to see the Chargers go on a run. Okay? I think this team was put in a really good position to start the offseason in terms of strength of schedule. I think the team has some time, some snaps under their belt now, some understanding of the squad. They have a bye week that they've been able to really, evaluate and hone in on who they are and the kind of changes they need to make. Now you take a look at the schedule, the upcoming schedule, and say, hey, let's get to work. Let's hit the ground running. Chargers next week. Guess who we face? The Denver Broncos, who have been more or less an okay team this season. I think the Chargers can take them, man. I think we win this game. The week after that, the Arizona Cardinals, who I will say are surprisingly not bad, right? I think it should be fun. I have a feeling we're going to win this game. I really do. I think this is going to be one of those games that defines the adjustment of a Jim Harbaugh, the comeuppance of a Justin Herbert, his bounce back. I do think the Chargers are more than capable of winning this game. I also think the Chargers are capable of taking down the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to throw an L in there just to shift things up a little bit, though. Okay? Maybe we don't win every single game, but we get close. We got the New Orleans Saints. Let's say we do drop that one. They've been looking really good this season. I've had a feeling about them all year. I hope I'm wrong, right? But then you face the Browns, who I was very worried about to start off the season. They have not looked like the version of the Browns that I was worried about in the offseason. They have looked like a shell of their former selves. Very tough for Browns fans right now. But really, the Browns, having shot themselves in the foot with the whole quarterback situation, it's something that they're going to have to sort out. I have the Chargers definitely winning that one. And then finally, you got the Titans, who, again, an organization that looks like they've seen better days. They're kind of rebuilding right now. I definitely think that's going to be a win. So winning 4 of your next 5 matchups, that's a really, really good sign of a bounce back, the momentum, putting the Chargers at that point at 6-3. It could be 7-2. Right, if they're somehow able to take down like the Saints or whatever, I believe that's possible. Even 6-3, it's a really, really good stretch of games for the Chargers. Of course, you got games like the Bengals and the Ravens coming up after that, which is going to be a lot tougher. But these games generate identity, momentum, positivity, confidence. I feel like that's going to be really important for the Chargers to hit these stretch of games right after the bye week. I really think it's just you're positioning this team perfect for a run, perfect for a shift, right? The worm has turned, or whatever that Jim Harbaugh said. It just feels like it's the perfect opportunity to shift things up. And Chargers fans, I think we're going to be just so excited to see where the team was previous to the bye week and how aggressive the change and success looks post the bye week. If I were to make a prediction, I really do think this team is going to look awesome for the next 5 weeks at least. And it's going to generate a lot of momentum, a lot of heat going into some tougher matchups in the later half of the year. So should be a lot of fun. Well, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below of my sick jersey and what you think the Chargers shot is the realistic shot is of them bouncing back post the bye week and really taking the offense to the next level, right? That's the biggest thing I'm concerned about. Defense has been insane. Can the offense figure it out? That's my question for you guys in the comment section. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. As always, bolt up and stay frosty.